How's it going, Vols Nation? This is Frank Rock. This is the House of Orange Sports Channel. I've slept on it. I've thought about it. This is Tennessee versus Kent State the next day. Thank you so much for taking the time right now to listen to this. Thank you for supporting the channel. Make sure you make sure you share out the content if you like it. If you have not, hit that subscribe button and make sure you turn on those notifications as well, as we will be going live tomorrow night, Monday night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. But this is the next day. What a night last night. I can pretty much focus on the first half because the second half was basically just running the clock out. But how good is this Tennessee football team? I don't know that we truly know the answer to this still. They annihilated Chattanooga. They had their way with NC State, who is I think a decent Power 4 team. They've not looked at so far, but I think, we'll know a lot more about NC State next week. They're not on Tennessee's level. Can they hang with Clemson next week? And then, of course, Tennessee could have scored 150 points last night if they would have wanted to. That's how I think it was a combination of how good Tennessee is and Kent State is a bad team. But this Tennessee team is just awesome. They are awesome right now. We'll find out a whole lot next week, obviously, as it gets real. It gets real next week. 7:30, ABC, Tennessee, Oklahoma next week. But on tonight, Tennessee, 37 first quarter points sets a new program record. 65 first half points sets a new program record. And, just kind of bringing up 740 yards of offense, only 112 yards of defense. Tennessee's on pace right now. They could redshirt their punter. They could redshirt their punter with the pace that they are on right now because he only has to, if he's only in 4 games, he can get a red shirt. So at the pace they're going, Jackson Ross may gain an extra year on it. But, they'll have to punt at some point. But overall, 740 yards of offense. Nico was out about midway through the second quarter. And I was glad he took a couple of hits that looked a little, I didn't like it in that game. Let's put it that way. I was glad they got him out. But him on the night, let's look at some stats. Let's look at some things that really stood out to me on the night. We'll talk about the offense first. Here you go. They 284 yards passing. Nico 10 out of 16. 173 and a touchdown. The running game, how about this? 464. And Peyton Lewis, man, 1 yard shy of having 3 guys break the 100-yard mark last night. Deshaun Bishop looked great, 7 carries, 122. Dylan Sampson, if Dylan Sampson's not the best running back in college football, I would like to see who is. He now has 9 touchdowns on the season. I think I saw it last night. 18 is the program record for a single season, if I'm not mistaken on that. He has a real shot to break that this year. It is his house. It is going to be his game. And I feel Cam Seldon's right. I mean, if you're hurt, you're hurt. He's missing out, though. You're starting to see Deshaun Bishop step up. We're seeing a little bit out of Peyton Lewis as well. This Tennessee running back room that we thought might be a concern coming into the season as far as depth, not so much Sampson. It's turning out it looks pretty good. And Coach Sims doing a fine job down there with the running backs. Of course, Jerry Mack before built this running back room. Jerry Mack did a great job building this running back stable. Now, it's more Dylan Sampson is easily your number 1 guy, but they have quality depth behind him, a lot of talent because Dylan Sampson, I'm just going to tell you, this is it for him this year. He'll be off to the NFL next year as he should be. And big Dylan Sampson is, the Heisman Trophy candidate that Tennessee people should be talking about is Dylan Sampson. He is Tennessee's best football player, at least on offense. And I was very high on him coming into the season. He's doing this stuff in a little over a quarter. Insane. And you got to give credit to the offensive line as well for what they're doing. I mean, you can't say enough about, because if there's not holes to run through, not everybody's a Barry Sanders that can create on their own. Dylan Sampson, he is elite, though. He is an elite running back. Receivers on tonight. How about that pass from Nico to Chris Brazzell? I thought that was That was an awesome pass on that long touchdown to him. Saw a little bit of Mike Matthews last night. We saw him on a kickoff return, saw him on a couple catches, one for a touchdown. What little I saw of Mike Matthews last night shows me why there's hype around him. This dude looks good. He looks very good. And in the 3 times that he got the ball last night, or at least 3 I can remember, he may have gotten it more, but he looks elite with the ball in his hands. I thought Chaz Nimrod had a good night. Squirrel White 1 for 19. Squirrel, listen, I get it. If it's thrown behind you, it's a hard catch. I think Squirrel White would tell you this game and the Chattanooga game, there was a couple behind him, not the best throws, but I think those are balls he would tell you he should have caught. But I mean, I can't fault him, but at the same time, sometimes you do have to make that play. Let's see, Matthews, Brazel, the touchdowns. Miles Kitzelman caught the touchdown from Gaston Moore. I mean, another guy, what an underrated pickup that was from Alabama, Miles Kitzelman. He's really done a great job for them. 284 receiving, of course, 284 passing on the night. Gaston Moore had 2 touchdowns. Nico 1. Only 1 sack. That was of Jake Merklinger. No sacks on Nico. No sacks on Gaston Moore, and what little that those 2 played last night. I thought it was good that they got him a little bit of time and got him out, and they let I mean, it was down to the 5th string quarterback at the end. So pretty crazy what they did last night. Defensively on the night, let's go on down to the defense. So only a couple tackles for loss, 4 quarterback hurries over here. But I'll tell you what, man, Kent State, to me, they were just getting the ball out and going. They weren't wasting a lot of time getting rid of the ball, and I don't think that's an indictment on Tennessee. Tennessee held them to 112 yards, and I'm just telling you right now, Kent State's center last night was absolutely terrified of that defensive line. At least three bad snaps. Tennessee got the 1 safety out of it that made it 9-0, and then, of course, it just rolled from there. Just teams so far cannot do anything on this defense. They just can't. And just a lot of guys played. You see it each time. Farouk led the team. I'll tell you, I like Idris Farouk. I like what I've seen out of this guy so far. I don't know that he's going to be your main safety before the year's out or nothing, but he's got to play each game. I like what I've seen out of him. I like what I've seen out of Jacoby Thomas. Unfortunately for him, he did get called for a targeting last night. He did sit out the second half, but so he should be good to go next week. Will Brooks, 4 tackles. There's Lindstrom, got some action. I mean, you see a whole lot of guys down through here. And James Pierce Jr. had no stats. He had 3 quarterback hurries. I thought he was awesome last night. He was in the backfield. He would have had a sack had it not been for a hold at one point. So, I mean, people continue to say, well, where's he at? Now, he's doing his job. He's just, he's getting held like he did last night. It was called. He's disrupting the I mean, on those snaps over the head, he was one of the first ones running that one down for the safety. Pierce Jr. he has the 3 quarterback hurries to show, and that's it. But now he did his job last night. I thought Jermod McCoy did his job with pass breakup. That guy can play. He's a heck of a corner. Just a lot of dudes played last night. And, with the way these games are going, Tennessee, there's not going to be a lot of red shirts because so many guys are getting to play. In this day and age, that's fine too. Okay. You get better by playing. And then special teams, talk about special teams. Max Gilbert continue. I mean, he only has 1 miss on the year. I like that they're able to get him a little bit of action in the second half. And they talked about Tennessee had the onside kick in the second quarter up 30-0, but they said it. Mike Eckler had told, I don't know if it's Jordan Rogers or Cole, who it was he told, but said they were planning on doing one, and it worked. So, I mean, you still got it. I appreciate the fact it was in the second quarter, too. Tennessee, man, they showed mercy. And apparently they offered to speed the game up, run the clock or shorten the quarters, and Kent State declined, which I respect that because, I get what their coach said. He said, we should play a full football game, and said their captains didn't want to either. But a ton of guys played again last night, early and often. I asked this question. Do we truly know how good this football team is? Right. I don't know that we do. To me, it looks like one of the best teams in college football. But at the same time, is it easy to overreact based on the competition? The NC State game, that's a solid football team. I know they've not looked good so far. I think when it's all said and done, that'll at least be a bowl eligible team. And again, we'll find out more about them this week. I don't know, what more to put here. 740 offense, 112 defense. That's just insane. That's video game numbers. That is video game numbers, what they're doing. And this team could easily put up 1,000 yards of offense last night. Now it gets real, though, guys. The focus shifts to Oklahoma. My cover photo, I put any old wrestling fans, I put Goldberg. He always used to say, "You're next." Oklahoma's next. And we're going to find out next week. Oklahoma beat Tulane 34-19. Can Tennessee overcome their road woes that they tend to happen every year? Or is this a different team this year? I'll talk more about that as the week goes along. We'll talk about it. We will shift that tomorrow night as we go live at 7:30. But it gets real now. SEC play is here. I'm glad these games are over with. I mean, there is UTEP later in the year and Vandy the last two games. I like big boy football. These, to me, they're a showcase. Yeah, they're fun to an extent. But, I mean, that's why I loved the COVID year when it was the 10-game SEC schedule. It was big boy football every week. That's what I like. I like the competition more than anything. You find out a lot more about your team. But, I mean, Oklahoma next week, off week. Arkansas, Florida. It's going to be curious to see what Florida's looking like because apparently there's discussions going on about Billy Napier's future right now. Alabama looks really good. They looked really good yesterday at Wisconsin. Of course, Kentucky, man. Kentucky gave Georgia a scare last night. And seen some people talking that maybe Stoops didn't – some people, Tennessee fans were criticizing Stoops last night for not – I guess he punted late in a game that really they had nothing to lose on. Of course, Mississippi State looks bad. That should be one, which surprises me how bad they've looked. Georgia, I would still anticipate when Tennessee goes to Georgia, they're going to have to bring their A game. That Georgia team last night, that's probably their wake-up call, if I had to guess. But it gets real now. It gets real. We're going to rock and roll with it. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you for, giving your time to give me your time as well, if that makes any sense as to what I just said. Your support and all, it's greatly appreciated on here, guys. Check out if you want to say thanks on the channel. There's the super thanks in the bottom right corner. There are the membership tiers. There is the Patreon as well. There's links in the description as well. And last but most certainly not least, guys, I'm going to get out here on that one. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and go Vols.